Welcome to another episode of Road to Recovery with your host, Recovery Lord. And today I do have the topic. Before I get to the like, comment, subscribe, and leave me comments on how your recovery effort is going. I want to talk about the 5 stages of addiction recovery. I want to talk about that. But before I get into that, I'm reading this book, The Wounded Womb, by Dr. Phil Valentine. Philip Valentine. He's all over YouTube like Peter Parker, all over the web. And one thing in this Wounded Womb, it correlates with what I'm reading from the Dr. Sebi Herbal Bible. And that is, we learned that mucus is the #1 disease and causes inflammation. So we do know what mucus surrounding our pineal and pituitary glands are. And I'll give people the second to go get their notebooks and get something to write with, to take notes. Don't just rely on whatever I'm saying, like I'm ChatGPT or something, or Gemini or Claude or whatever it is. Look these things up and confirm this. So mucus surrounding your pineal and pituitary gland that's when those glands are considered calcified. We think of something being calcified like it's hard and it's hardened and all that. But when these glands are calcified, they're covered in mucus. And what happens when your pituitary gland is covered in mucus and calcified? According to this Wounded Womb, you can have less sexual maturation, meaning you can be a child in an adult body and have no control over who you share your body with. That's because your pituitary gland regulates your hormones. Your pineal gland. The main function of your pineal gland is to produce melatonin. When your pineal gland is malfunctioning, you have a higher risk of schizophrenia and mood disorders. That shows the importance of proper rest and sleep. If you stay in this virtual reality for too long, you will start to lose your mind. We are not designed to be in this existence 24, 48 hours. And that's what a lot of addiction does to people. It robs them of proper rest and nutrition. By attacking your pineal and pituitary gland, they are attacking your instincts and your intuition. That's why it's no such thing, or it's dwindling. Remember, a woman's intuition, where they could see a baby and know what that baby needs based off the facial expressions that baby makes. Now, they're not even in the same house as the baby. They so pressed to get breaks. Somebody answered the door with a damn shotgun. Here, here go the baby. I'll be back in a couple hours. I remember a time where kids were not allowed at certain people's house. Now it's whatever. Yeah, they come in here because their grandfather's in there. So your pineal gland has certain cells in it called pinealocytes. And those pinealocytes work off of mitochondria. Mitochondria is something that you get specifically from your mother. And mitochondria, according to scientists and genealogists, is the oldest DNA on the planet. So that's going to throw Genesis 1 chapter, Genesis when Adam was created first. Genetically speaking, that's been counter proven with mitochondrial being the oldest form of DNA. Plus, not to mention, when we do see pictures of Adam, he has a belly button too, like he was snatched from a damn umbilical cord. That is another group for another day. Shout out to all my wise ones that be breaking it down and hell yeah, he going in with it. So mitochondrial disease. Mitochondrial disease happens when you don't maintain proper health of your mitochondrial through exercise, proper diet, or according to Dr. Sebi, a proper live it, because you're not trying to die by eating the right way. Adequate sleep and reducing sugar intake. And exercise, proper diet, adequate sleep, and reducing sugar intake is all thrown off with addiction. So what are signs and symptoms of mitochondrial disease? Muscle weakness, seizures, strokes, hearing loss, and blindness, organ failure, and developmental delays, being in arrested development. It's not just a damn R&B group. You got a bunch of grown children in their second and third childhoods walking around here. Well, this is some of the science behind why that's happening. We are being attacked on a cellular level. And see, all of this is just mitochondrial deficiencies and calcified pineal. We didn't even get into addiction. So if you're going through all this, that's already one cross. And then you throw addiction all that on top of that, now you double cross. So the 5 stages of addiction recovery. Alcohol and drug abuse can tear families apart and transform loving and successful individuals into desperate, lonely husks of their former selves. Even though the impact is devastating, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Anyone can overcome addiction with the help and guidance of a substance abuse treatment program. Understanding the 5 stages of addiction recovery can be useful for addicted people and their family members. Each stage clearly describes the process of recognizing and admitting the problem, preparing for addiction treatment, and dealing with life after treatment of alcohol and drug abuse. It's an integrated theory that's compatible with most evidence-based and holistic treatments like 12-step programs and behavior therapy. Evidence-based is you don't just say something to somebody. The proof is in the pudding. You see somebody getting better, trying, getting a little bit stronger. And they do say, regardless to what you believe in or not, that a 12-step program is the #1 thing that has helped millions and millions of people around the world successfully recover from addiction. So why understanding the stages of recovery matters? Understanding the 5 stages of addiction recovery isn't just useful for those struggling with substance abuse. It's also vital for families, friends, and treatment providers. Recognizing what stage a person is in allows for more effective communication, realistic expectations, and the right kind of support, rather than pushing someone toward treatment before they're ready. Loved ones can help guide them gently and respectfully, increasing the likelihood of long-term success. Your loved ones in the realm of recovery. A counselor or your therapist is going to look at your loved ones, your children, your relatives as your support network. And whatever measures they want to put to your goals to make they're more easily attainable and achievable, the stronger your support networking system is. Education is power in the recovery journey. When clients and their families understand that change is a process, not a single event, it sets the stage for greater compassion, patience, and resilience. So change and recovery, it is a process. It's not an event. You can't just skip. You can't just watch One Road to Recovery. Oh my God, Recovery Lord is the best counselor I ever heard. It's a miracle. I'm healed. Now I can go down the way. I can go down Robin's Nest, and that's not going to bother me and affect me. And wrong answer, buddy. Especially if you deal with alcohol as your substance of choice. You're going to be triggered, trigger, like Trey Songz. What is the trans theoretical model? So when we talk about the stages of change and the stages of addiction recovery, that's considered also in some circles the trans theoretical model, and it was created by Prakasha, DiClemente, and Norcross. Created the trans theoretical model in 1983 to help people quit smoking. It was then updated in 1992. And with these dates, 83 and 92, another thing that was going on that could help them gauge addiction was in the 80s is when chemical warfare was waged during the urban community with Reagan. Biological warfare too, with HIV and AIDS. Chemical warfare with crack cocaine. When it started being used in clinical settings for a variety of behaviors. By studying various mental health and substance use disorder treatment plans, Prakasha, DiClemente, and Norcross noted patterns that occur as people progress through major behavioral shifts. The stages of addiction recovery aren't necessarily linear. That means they don't have to go in a particular order. They're just stages that exist when somebody's trying to get right and get back on track. Of course, some people sail quickly through the stages in perfect order. Plus, there are certain principles that counselors and therapists on rehab programs can use to guide clients through the recovery process. It can also be helpful for the addicted person themselves to gain self-understanding using this model. Insight is a powerful tool for change because it makes it easier to be mindful of decisions you're making in a moment. So, what is the first stage? Pen, book, ready to take notes. 89 cents, $1.25 at Dollar Tree, everywhere. Number one, we got $1.25 for a lighter. So hopefully we got $1.25 for a notepad. Pre-contemplation. The first stage, pre-contemplation. People who are in the first stage of addiction recovery aren't yet ready for any addiction treatment program. This phase is characterized by defensiveness and endless justification of their behavior. There's a clear lack of insight into the negative impact of excessive drug or alcohol use, and a strong focus on the positive effects they experience from using their drug of choice. So in this pre-contemplation stage, a person is ignoring the signs that drinking every day and getting high every day is ruining their life and messing their life up. What they're looking at is ways they feel like it makes them better. So somebody on the fake ecstasy and Molly that's floating around Baltimore City, they're gonna say, "Oh yeah, I take this stuff and I'm able to stay up. Oh, I've been working third shift. I stay up all night and I don't go to. They ain't catch me sleeping, or I'm able to do a double. I can do a double and a triple." not realizing that even if that is helping you do a double and triple, if the cost of that, if the taxes you got to pay on that is issues with your liver and your kidneys, that should be too high of a damn price to pay. But I can only use an I statement. Someone might remain in this stage due to lack of information about addictive behaviors. Another reason we regularly see people get stuck in the pre-contemplation stage is disappointment with multiple failed attempts at recovery and treatment options. Most individuals in pre-contemplation feel that recovery simply isn't possible for them. The truth is that anyone can recover from any stage. But see, we've already talked about the power of the mind. So the minute anybody starts saying this is impossible for you, it is impossible for you. If you're looking at recovery as a punishment, it's a punishment. But see, it's a punishment to some people. But imagine people who done already lost somebody in their family from an overdose. They wish they could sit in one of these damn groups and have somebody try to talk them out of doing this dumb shit. The same thing that we looking at as a punishment. Some of us. And people is saying people getting stuck in pre-contemplation. That's you allowing your addiction to do the thinking for you. If you stuck on stupid or stuck in a place of can't this, can't that. Who talks like that? That's trying to do something. You see everybody social media and everybody's a entrepreneur. They got their own business. They doing all this stuff. But then when it comes to recovery and it comes to changing your life, then we come with the can't shit. At this stage, challenges often include denial, resistance to outside input, and feelings of hopelessness. Loved ones may find it difficult to reach the individual without triggering defensiveness. Education, motivational interviewing, which is a lot of what I do, motivational interviewing, and building trust are essential tools for helping someone move beyond pre-contemplation. It's also important to meet the person with compassion rather than confrontation. The number one thing that I have seen people, the number one thing in this world that I have seen move people from this phase, pre-contemplation, is consequences. Consequences. People losing their children and gotta get their shit together so they can get them back. People losing their voucher. People messing up a relationship. People overdosing and waking up with that hospital risk thing on, with their birth date and all that on there. That's unfortunately. And see, I sit in groups every day and people say, don't nobody need to hit rock bottom to change, Mr. Mason. People can change without hitting rock bottom. They can. But let's be honest. Some people got to get locked up to know how to make a damn bed up. Some people got to wait till they get the bookings to be a damn neat freak and have OCD. Which is ridiculous. It's easier ways to learn how to make up a bed. Because you could be dirty as ever at your house, have your mother cleaning up behind you every 5 seconds, but you get locked up and your celly is 6'4", 270 something pounds, and he don't want to smell feet. Guess who's gonna be washing their feet and socks? and all that retarded shit that people holding on to while they're at home, all that be right out the door. Number 2, the contemplation stage of recovery. The next phase is characterized by contemplative readiness. This means the person is ready to bring about change in the future, but not immediately. Unlike the previous stage, they're aware of the pros of becoming drug-free. However, they're also acutely aware of the benefits they perceive from alcohol or drug addiction. This is a critical stage for family members and treatment facilities because the person is more likely to listen to reason by avoiding blame, judgment, and accusations. It's possible to guide them to the next stage. So when you think somebody's in contemplation, this is when you should not be blaming them for stuff. You shouldn't be constantly judging them. And what you don't want to do is a bunch of accusations. The worst accusation you could do is accuse somebody of getting high when they are not. We've seen this before in relationships. When somebody accuses you of cheating, a lot of people, not even half, not even some, I want to say more than half people, the minute you start accusing them of cheating, the first thing that comes out their mouth and the first thing they start to say is, well, shit, if you thinking I'm doing it, I might as well do it. That's the same thing in addiction and in drinking every day. If you accusing somebody of doing it and they're not doing it, that's like a nuclear bomb in addiction recovery. They're gonna act on that. During contemplation, ambivalence is one of the biggest hurdles. Individuals may acknowledge the problem, but still fear the unknowns of sobriety. Ambivalence is when you are being what they call willful and other aspects of mental health. That is when you are purposefully ignoring certain things and acting like it doesn't exist. So some people, they constantly say how negative they are. Like they're ambivalent. They showing ambivalence to anything positive they did. They want to throw that to the side like it doesn't exist. Or it's the opposite. Some people, even though they steal and even though they doing all this to maintain their addiction, they're a good-hearted person, the most sweetest person in the world, and they help so many people. So they think that, okay, I'm a good-hearted person, so I should be able to get high in peace. God seen all the people I helped out and I gave a sandwich to. It don't work like that. Will they lose friendships or routines they rely on? Guilt, shame, or fear of failure can hold them back. This is a powerful time for motivational support, non-judgmental conversation, and planting seeds of hope. So you want to help somebody and you feel like they're in the contemplation stage, this is a powerful time for motivational support, non-judgmental conversation, and potentially planting seeds of hope. If you can't do that, then I was taught, if you don't have nothing kind to say, you heard it, then don't say nothing. Number 3, preparation stage of addiction recovery, the third stage. When it comes to the preparation stage, the individual is building a sense of urgency regarding their desire for sobriety. They've usually made up steps towards taking action, such as intending to go to a gym, seeing a counselor, or attempting to quit addiction by themselves without attending a treatment center. It's normal for people in this phase to go for a day or two without turning to drugs or alcohol. But it's also perfectly usual to see people jump back into contemplation or even pre-contemplation in case triggers or difficult emotions arise. This stage is filled with both motivation and vulnerability. The desire to change is real, but the person may still be wrestling with anxiety, doubt, or the fear of change. And, we call in this stuff depression, anxiety, but we do know that these were what they called a couple hundred years ago demons. Being possessed. Now, some of these demons that they used to say on a religious note are now affectionately known as anxiety and depression. But one thing we do know is that stuff don't get locked up with you. Don't do it. People get up and then they want to have a job and, be a law-abiding citizen over the way. Do that now before it gets to that point. External pressure from family, the legal system, or health concerns can either help or hinder progress, depending on how it's framed. A well-structured treatment plan, peer encouragement, and professional support can help solidify their commitment. The fourth stage is action. Action. During the action stage, the person has made significant changes in their lives and is committed to change. This stage of change is characterized by prolonged periods of abstinence and the inclination to turn to professionals for help before or after a relapse. It won't just be the case of halting the destructive behavior. Change will be apparent in multiple aspects of a person's lifestyle. Their self-care, their self-understanding are both present in this treatment stage, but counseling is required to keep them on the right path. The action phase often brings a mix of empowerment and emotional turbulence. Individuals may face intense cravings, intense mood swings, or even grief as they process life without substances. Relapse triggers like stress, relationships, or loneliness are common, which is why therapy, structure, and support groups are so crucial. Fourth step, action. We know action speaks louder than words. So you can't just talk about getting better. You can't just, say certain elegant things and chat GBT bullet points and talking points. You're going to have to walk this walk. It's one thing to talk the talk. It's a whole nother thing to walk that walk. And the fifth stage is maintenance. And how about that? You should be at the fifth stage when you get maintenance. Maintenance stage of addiction recovery. During the maintenance stage, the individual is working hard to prevent addiction recovery relapses. They're also keeping up with the lifestyle changes they made, like getting regular exercise, recreational activities, staying sober, paying attention to sleep hygiene, and attending support groups. They don't feel the urge to relapse as frequently as people in the action stage. So their confidence is growing, and they truly believe in their ability to maintain sobriety long term. This stage can last from 6 months to 5 years, depending on the severity of the addiction and the individual's genes and experience. It takes a small minority of people 6 months of abstinence to reach the point where they don't go back to their addictive behavior. However, for most people, A commitment of 2 to 5 years is necessary to truly break the habit and solidify change. One of the main challenges in the maintenance stage is complacency. As life stabilizes and the memory of addiction fades, individuals might reduce their involvement in support systems, which can increase relapse risk. Others may struggle with boredom or emotional flatness as they adapt to a substance-free life. That's why ongoing therapy, community connection, and purposeful living are key components of sustained recovery. You're recovering for a reason. You're not recovering just to watch goddamn Knight Rider all day, or The Facts of Life, or Marty Ma, or whatever, the rerun. You're not recovering just to watch Tubi all day. It's for a purpose, a life filled with purposeful living. How long does each stage of recovery take? The time a person spends in each stage of addiction recovery varies based on individual factors such as the severity of the addiction, co-occurring mental health conditions, support systems, and personal motivation. For some, moving through the stages can happen relatively quickly. For others, it takes months or even years. It's not unusual to move back and forth between stages before achieving long-term recovery. Understanding that recovery isn't linear helps individuals avoid feelings of failure and stay committed to the progress. You can't get caught up and jammed up on a setback. How long y'all think it took Jordan to master that fadeaway jump shot? You think he got it the first time? Or you think he did it and tried it and it messed up and he's like, yeah, I'm never going to do this, so let me just dunk my whole career. And that's when people who do that and they don't work on an all-around game, the minute they can't dunk no more, their career is over. It's a wrap. So, and we'll read books like the Mamba mentality and, oh, that's Kobe and nah. You better have a Mamba mentality for recovery, for achieving your goals, for making something out of yourself. Because if you're just walking around, I can't, I won't, shall not, thou shall not, then you commanding that your life stay the same way it is or get worse. And if you're commanding that, it's going to be tough for anybody else to come behind that and say, no, that's not what we're doing. Because you're the captain of your own ship. And the more you become the captain of your own ship, the less you will need Captain Morgan. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Keep coming back. More is going to be revealed for you by you. We pray for the addict who picked up for the first time today. And we pray for the one who put that shit down for the last time today. And everyone in between. God bless you. Stay motivated for this change. Get stronger. Get better. Live a life better than the one people wrote you off and gave you permission to live. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Road to Recovery.